Good day to you listeners from every corner of the world. I welcome you to today's political analysis of some of our headlines. The most interesting of all the headlines is one that we'll mention now. Mark slams federal government after appeal court reverses ADC deregistration. This is a massive development that cuts right to the bone of Nigerian jurisprudence and the political landscape ahead of 2027. The drama centers on Justice Peter Alifu of the Federal High Court ordering INEC to deregister the ADC and four other political parties for missing performance benchmark. In a swift, dramatic twist, a three-member court of appeal led by Justice A.B. Mohammed, they slapped the brake with a stay of execution, calling Justice Lifu's decision to proceed despite a prior appeal court halt the greatest form of judicial misconduct. Following this, ADC National Chairperson, Senator David Mark declared that the judiciary, not the ADC, is on trial, accusing the ruling APC of using state machinery for a hatchet job. Let's now both view it from different angles. One, the Court of Appeal didn't just reverse the decision. They aggressively reprimanded the lower court judge for ignoring the May 22 order to freeze proceedings. If I may ask, how deeply has political desperation compromised absolute rule of judicial hierarchy in Nigeria? Let's look at the institutional breakdown, where a High Court judge explicitly bypasses an appellate stay. Is the National Judicial Council equipped or willing to swiftly sanction what the Court of Appeal called brazen violations of the 1999 Constitution? That is one. The registration didn't just target the ADC. It also swept up Accord, Action Alliance, APP, and also Zenith Labour Party. Opposition leaders are framing this as a systematic effort by the Tinubu administration to thin out the ballot before 2027. If I may ask, it's section 225A, electoral performance threshold. Is it being used as a genuine tool for sanity, or is it being weaponized to enforce a de facto one-party state like they said? Evaluate the timing. ADC has just completed its primaries and declared a major Atiku Abubakar ticket when the hammer dropped. Let's map out whether shrinking the number of parties reduces voters' choice or genuinely curbs mushroom parties that clutter the ballot paper. Back to Senator David Mark, who is traditionally known for a more measured conservative political posture. His sharp language of accusing the federal government of pulling off a hatchet job and calling the current administration sinking, it indicates a shift. What does David Mark's uncharacteristically fierce rhetoric signal about the changing dynamics of Nigerian opposition coalition? If we take a critical look at it, this is not just an administrative defense. It is, it's a rallying cry. Okay, let's evaluate the multi-party pushback, which suggests a highly coordinated mega coalition forming much earlier than we usually see in Nigerian election cycle. Another angle from which I would like us to assess this is the INEC's compliance and the electoral heart of 2026. During the trial, ADC noted that INEC itself explicitly testified that the party met performance thresholds and that the registration should not be driven by political sentiment. Okay, now with INEC caught between conflicting court orders and the provisions of the electoral act of 2026, how secure is the upcoming 2027 electoral framework? Look closely at INEC's structural independence. If the electoral body is telling the court a party is clean, yet a high court judge forces their hand anyway, where does the ultimate authority over the ballot rest? The overarching narrative here isn't just about party registration. It is about judicial rascality versus democratic pluralism. Okay, similar to this is the turbulence within the ADC. The swift defection of Obi and Rabi Kwakwaso to the newly formed Nigerian Democratic Congress, NDC, which has completely rewritten the 2027 playbook. However, NDC National Chairman Moses Cleopas is now demanding that this heavyweight sign a mandated anti-defection affidavit or hold or face disqualification. Is this an unprecedented structural move? Or is it an aggressive attempt by a newborn party to shackle political nomads who are notoriously difficult to control? In Nigerian political history, it is known that it's littered with gentlemen's agreement and signed pacts that were ripped up the moment interest shifted. Legally binding an individual's right to freedom of association is entirely different beast. Okay, let me ask you again. Does a party mandated affidavit or hold any actual water under the 1999 Constitution? Or is it legally dead on arrival? I want us to look into that. Then let us both debate Section 40 of the Constitution, freedom of association. Can a political party legally disqualify a candidate who refuses to sign an oath that restricts their future political mobility? Is this a legal binding document or a merely psychological tool for public shaming in case it defects in the future? Let's look at it from another angle. Peter Obi and Rabi Kwakwaso, they did not enter these parties as standard members. They enter as massive political institutions with rapid independent follower basis, the Obedient movement and at the same time the Kwakwasiya movement. Now, let's ask ourselves, is the NDC leadership overplaying its hand by attempting to enforce absolute party supremacy over two of the largest political brands in modern Nigerian politics? I mean, this sign of step-aside mandate is a bold power play by Moses Cleopas, the chairman of the NDC. And also co-founder Asaria K. Dixon. Won't this dynamic fracture the newly minted alliance before it even gets off ground? Do you think Obi's camp will view this as an attempt to cage his political movement, or will they accept it as a necessary evil to build an institutional identity? It now seems that the ghost of 2023 election is still coming back. Because if you can recollect, in 2023, the biggest favor the opposition did for the APC was splitting the vote across Labour Party, NMP, PDP. Now, the NDC's desperate push for this vote stems from an intense institutional paranoia that someone will pull out at the 11th hour. Is this anti-defection oath a symptom of deep-seated trust deficit between the Obi and Kwakwaso factions as they try to lock down a joint 2027 ticket? Now let's look at the mechanics of the alliance. NDC has already zoned the 2027 presidential election to the south, hinting heavily at an Obi Kwakwaso ticket. Let's evaluate if this oath is specifically designed to stop Kwakwaso from walking away, if it feels sidelined by a Southern-centric ticket or vice versa. Let's now debate this. Discipline ideology and rented vehicles. Let's compare the two. Historically, Nigerian political parties are treated like special purposes vehicles. You understand what I mean? Vehicles rented for an election cycle and abandoned immediately later. The NDC claims it was funded to introduce disciplined governance and long-term planning. Okay, now, can administrative oath genuinely force ideological discipline into a political landscape structurally built on opportunism? Let's look at the broader picture of party building in Nigeria. If the NDC successfully forces Obi and Kwakwaso to sign, does this set the precedent for party supremacy in Nigeria closer to what we see with ASC in South Africa? Or it will just force the big actors to look for a cleaner alternative vehicle? Well, politicians, I will say, they understand themselves, and a few of us know them too. But if you think you understand the game, drop your thoughts in the comment section. See you next time. I am Abimbola Lamid.